Hello chess friends and welcome to Tata's chess channel and welcome to the Tata Steel Masters tournament in 2021. We're back now in the round 10. In the round 10 I think we had the derby of the day. It's of course Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana. So when we watch this tournament, Fabiano Caruana is much better. He's in better shape. Magnus had his troubles in this tournament. I think after winning yesterday, Magnus Carlsen would probably even be satisfied with the draw with the black pieces against Fabiano Caruana. He doesn't have to play actively. He has to make only a draw, has to retaliate a little bit. Then maybe he can try something else in the next 3 rounds. So here it's very important not to lose against such a strong Fabiano Caruana, because we have seen now that Fabi is playing really great. He's playing such great attacks. He's playing really sharp. I missed, as I said yesterday, I missed sometimes such a sharp Fabiano Caruana, because we all knew that he had such a great position understanding, but sometimes I really missed his Mikhail Tal attacks, Rashid Nejmedinov attacks, his maybe Vasily Ivanchuk attacks, this silly attacks in games that we can see sometimes with some beautiful piece sacrifice. And in this game again we'll see sort of a Mikhail Tal Fabiano Caruana game. So let's check out now the game. It was incredible, although you probably know the result, but I'm not going to reveal you. We'll wait to the end. So here d4 played by Fabi. We have knight to f6 by Magnus, c4, e6. So far the Queen's Indian setup here. We have g3 by Caruana. He plays the Catalan. You see, most of the times we're going knight to f3, knight to c3, but the new Caruana is playing the sharpest opening. He's playing the move g3. Here we have d5. Magnus locks now the position on like squares, which is also a very nice idea. We have knight to f3 and now bishop to b4. It's similar now to the Ragozin setup, where we are developing our dark square bishop, or maybe to the Nimzo Indian. Of course, Caruana changed the opening with the move g3. He went into the Catalan, but now after bishop to b4, you have now two choices, only two good choices: knight to d2 or bishop to d2. Here Fabiano goes bishop to d2. If you take bishop to d2, then the queen comes always out with the tempo. You can castle, the knight will come on a natural square. We can even be flexible and castle queenside. Here bishop to g2, still you cannot take. I still like always more the bishop's activity here of whites. When it comes to pawn structures, you see many pawns are on light square, so that's why in this particular scenario I think white would be slightly better, although the evaluation is maybe about equal. But I would always love to play more this position from white's perspective. In the game, after move bishop to d2, Magnus retreats now with the move bishop to d6, bishop to g2 by Caruana, and now c6. We have now a semi-Slav pawn structure. One of the main ideas of the semi-Slav in some occasions to take d takes c4, then to play something like b5, bishop to b7 and a6, having a really nice grip on light squares and continuing the game maybe with an extra pawn. Of course, after potential here knight to c3, and now if you try d takes c4, it's very risky, because you can get maybe an e5, a knight to e5, bishop to e5, d takes e5, knight to d7 and f4. Here you see white would have really nice storm here on the king side with these two bishops, with the potential e4 move. It could be again very risky. So here also an opportunity. If you take out the pawn immediately, it could be also a potential e4 move. That's also an opportunity. Or maybe bishop to g5, then e4. So still I like more white's position, although you're down a pawn. Black will need now many tempi in order to make something happen here on the queen side. I think white is slightly faster when it comes to this central attack. So here knight to c3, bishop to g5. It is of course a good choice by Caruana to develop his dark square bishop, because the bishop is not good here on d2. It has maybe here an activity towards the king side, but it's not attacking anything. And Magnus goes now h6, bishop to f6, queen to f6, and now queen to b3. Okay, Fabi gave up the bishop pair in an early stage of the game, but the problem of black setup is that black has here a bad bishop. It's of course the bishop that it's blocked out by its own pawns. If you advance the pawn in order to improve your bishop's activity, then we can simply take out. You risk then also some isolated pawns here with c takes d5 and similar stuff. So far a good opening line by Fabiano. I think he surprised him a little bit, and this is a position that has never been reached before in chess history. And I really love, as I said, the new Fabiano. Many great theoretical novelties. He he showed us in this tournament, and that's really good because he, as I mentioned also yesterday, he didn't play so many of these blitz bullet rapid tournaments. He prepared, and probably this is also one of his homemade preparation lines. I think this is a very good setup, although as I said, you're continuing the game without the bishop pair, but activity of white's pieces is so far very good. Knight to d7, castling. We have queen to e7. Magnus prepares now an e5 pawn breakthrough, which is of course very natural when it comes to liberate your bishop here, but you have to be careful here. Also your d5 pawn is hanging. If you take, always, I mentioned it again, d takes c4, queen to c4, then again you risk these two pawns to be connected, and then white can gain some space in the center. Here queen to e7 wasn't really the best, maybe rook to e8. It comes with the idea you have already played with your queen. There is this principle, I've talked about these ideas in one of my lessons now that I created today. I'll show you the link of the lesson in the description below, so you can maybe check it out if you want to study and learn the basic principles in chess. There is this principle which says bring the last piece that hasn't played so far into the game, and it's really natural. If you have played already with the queen is perfectly fine on f6. You should bring the last piece that hasn't played so far. The good move is of course rook to e8, and here maybe e3 can happen, then bishop to f8. You see now this bishop's activity is again very good, but we can remaneuver it. Maybe g6, bishop to g7, and then try maybe here to create some dynamics with d takes c4, and maybe break the position even with the move c5. That would be a very interesting idea, and I would really love to see how Fabi would have handled this kind of an attack by Magnus. But queen to e7 is a slightly loss of tempo in my opinion. Here Fabiano has now the opportunity to play c5, bishop to bishop to c7, and Fabi goes e4 immediately. You see how the position can get messy when you lost the tempo, sort of the necessary tempo. After e4 we have b6, we have e takes d5, now e takes d5 by Magnus Carlsen, and now rook to e1. You see, you would love now to have the rook on the e file here to compete in the game. Magnus tried queen to f6, you see again a queen move, and now Fabi goes really all in with a great tactical shot. Knight takes d5, a really brutal move. C takes d5, queen to d5, rook is hanging, you have to move the rook, and now c6 is again trapping the knight. Very nice move by Fabiano Caruana, very nice tactical sequence. Rook to d8, and Fabiano takes now the knight, bishop to d7, and now knight to e5. Fabi has grabbed the pawn. He has now of course maybe slightly worse position when it comes to pieces. Magnus Carlsen has the bishop pair, which is perfectly fine. But here again, rook from a to c1, again with the same principle. We're bringing back the last piece into the attack. First of all, we're counter-attacking. Maybe here an option now is to play something like bishop to e8, or discovered attacks, other discovered attacks against the queen with something like bishop to e6. But now queen to e4 would be still perfectly fine. Then maybe to cement the knight, the bishop is hanging, you have to first retreat. So again, these are, I think, these tiny little things when which we don't calculate sometimes in positions here in the game. Maybe, as I said here, rook to c1 by Fabiano, getting simply all of our pieces in the attack. Here he tried knight to e5. It's not that this move is losing something for Caruana, but here of course you're cementing the knight on a very active square in the game. Now Magnus tried bishop to e6, we have queen to e4, now bishop to d6. Magnus won't tolerate this very nice centralized knight here, although Magnus is now losing the bishop pair again after d takes e5, queen to e7, queen to e3 played by Fabiano. He has to protect his back rank. Magnus has now also a very nice activity with his life war bishop, so you lose at least one tempo in order to play a3 or b3 to protect your a2 pawn, because you cannot play freely with your rook. That's the most important thing in the game. Now rook to c8 by Magnus, bishop to e4, queen to c5 by Magnus. He's trying now to undermine the pressure. He's trying to simplify the game, which is a good choice. He's down a pawn. it's now really time to get somehow our rooks maybe on the second rank and get this game to a draw. So rook to c5, f4, we have g6 by Magnus, rook king to f2, we have now a5, king to e3, and now a4, simply continuing our attack on the queen side. The problem is, as I said, Caruana cannot compete immediately with these rooks on the c5. Your a2 pawn is saying we have rook to c1, rook to b5. Very nice move by Magnus. Again, attacking, we have rook to c2, rook to b4, attacking the bishop here. There are, of course, some tactical possibilities. Rook to e4, king to e4, and then bishop to f5 loses the game for white. So that's why Fabi played the correct move here. If bishop to d3, we have h5. If you try again now, maybe rook to e3, then king to d3, and after bishop to f5, we can play king to c3. That's so far not a possibility here by Caruana. If you take, of course, then we take simply also out this rook. So here in the game, after bishop to d3, h5, rook to d2 played by Fabiano Caruana, we have b5, fixing the position on like squares. We have a3, and now Magnus goes simply rook to b3, brings the bishop on its best square, and now rook to c1 played by Fabiano. We have b4, a takes b4, rook a3, b takes a3, and now a very nice move by Magnus. Bishop to f5, pinning Fabiano Caruana's pieces. He has now attacked this bishop 3 times. We have rook to d1, you have to protect, but now after rook to a3, Magnus Carlsen found a great drawish tactical sequence. He played simply bishop to g4, attacks the rook, and when the rook retreats, he can play again on the pin. Here 3 times repetition has been played, and it was a fair draw. So okay, maybe not the most attractive game. To see how well prepared Fabiano Caruana is, and you see what kind of a move you have to pull off in order to win such a game against Magnus Carlsen. You have to play really stockfish engine accurate lines, which is really incredible. This elite top grandmaster level is really incredible. They're playing really in such a great accuracy level, and that's why I think fair draw. Magnus found here also great tactic. We'll see now what will happen in continuation of the tournament. I think Fabi can also be satisfied with the draw with the white pieces against Magnus, because Fabiano Caruana has still the opportunities to become the winner of this tournament. He's playing also against the direct contenders for the throne, of course, against Alireza Firouzja. That will be, I think, also a great game in the tournament. Be prepared, still three games more to play for everyone, and this will be still a wild tournament. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really didn't enjoy it so much. If you want to see more games from this tournament, check out my playlist so far that I've created. Here's the link. And if you want to see maybe the best chess games of all times, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also the playlist, and if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.